against 10 men for a lot of today, but they also played against 10-man Everton after the 13th minute and still lost that game. Would you give him the job this afternoon, tomorrow, Joe?
Oh, God, that's nothing to do with me. Like I say, I know where my loyalties lie in this city, but from working with Michael Carrick, really enjoyed him as a person, enjoy him as a player. And he's doing a good job. He interviews really well. He's calm. He's not getting carried away. I think it's a time to not get carried away. I think you've got to realise that it's been a really difficult couple of years at Manchester United. So winning 4 on the spin is great, but you've got foundations to rebuild if you really want to go again.
Do you think, though, they need to give him the job because it's a different kind of pressure if it's his job permanently, so they can really see what he's like, than it is if you're just the interim man in charge?
I think they decide that in the summer. I think if you look at it now, fourth, let's be honest, they could finish second. They're only 3 points off second. And they got West Ham, Everton, Crystal Palace next. Let's be honest.
Only 10 behind Arsenal now.
Exactly.
There's some ground they've made up.
If he finishes second, you can't not give it to him. It'd be impossible. You'd have to give it to him. I don't see how you could bring anybody else in. Imagine you bring in somebody else and they start slowly. Everybody be annoyed. So I think if he keeps winning games, he'll probably get it. But again, Michael is so level-headed. You just want to chip away, get in a good position. You see now 4th in league table. Like you said, 10 points behind Arsenal. You know how hard that is to believe after sacking the manager? And we're saying how great this Arsenal team is, and they are. But Man United are in a brilliant position. And I think if he keeps winning games, it's going to be near on impossible not to give it to him.
It's easy to say from the outside, sort of looking in. A lot of what he's done feels like common sense with this team, Joe. But what has he done differently beyond the obvious?
I think he's just understood his players and understood what the best way to get the best out of them. No doubt him having the DNA at the club will help him. The understanding, the people that he's able to talk to above his head. The team that he's got around him, head coaches will always tell you it's important that you bring around you. Even that relationship with Johnny Evans, having the trust of having someone that he's worked with. Steve Holland in there, Woodgate. Look, at the moment, like I say, it's working really well. But as Michael, he interviewed brilliantly. He is not going to get carried away. You can't get carried away. You've got to stay super calm, live in the moment. And all that matters right now is West Ham for Manchester United.
As an ex-player, what does that DNA that Joe mentioned mean to you? And are you seeing it, do you think, with the football they're playing under Michael Carrick?
Well, people always talk about the history and that, that it's kind of getting away. I completely disagree. I think you have to embrace that. The greatest thing about this football club is the history of it, the icons that have played here. And that's why it's such a privilege to represent this football club. When I used to sit on the pitch, I used to think of those greats that played here before in midfield and used to think, they'll be watching this game. And you have to try and emulate that level. And some people are up to it and some people aren't. That's not a criticism, but it's a fact. And when you get up in the pitch, you see it. And Michael knows what it's to be one of those players. He's not going to shout and yell at somebody or put somebody down or criticize them. He's going to say, come on, trust in yourself, believe, put people in a position. You look at Kobe. How did Kobe not play for a year? And he's got Casemiro and Bruno in and around him. That midfield three. We're talking about multiple Champions League winners with one of the best young players in the Premier League in Kobe and probably the best creator in Bruno Fernandes. And a month ago, we said that was their biggest weakness, the midfield. It's a strength. And I just think everybody's in the position where they're flourishing. And credit to Michael Carrick. You think back a month ago, everybody was playing a different position except the keeper. Now everybody's in a position where they can flourish. And that's credit to the manager. And the players are showing why they're good players, why they're here, and they're showcasing it.
9 points above West Ham. Are they getting drawn into this fight, Joel?
Oh, God, it's a tough one. It's a tough one to talk about. But I suppose, this is not new. This happened last season as well. Look, I feel like they'll undoubtedly have enough quality not to get dragged into it. But it's about keeping 11 men on the pitch and being in the games and putting more points on the board, because you don't want those questions being asked. Simple as that. Because
there's 2 wins in 16 now in the Premier League. No wins this year.
As I say, the squad is good enough, more than good enough, not to be in that position, but they're not doing it on the pitch. Thomas Frank's obviously not getting over what he needs from his team, and they need to start winning. They need to start winning quickly.
So how have they fallen so quickly, Owen, into this position where we're now looking at a team who are struggling to get into the top half of the table, when this was a team who regularly were competing for the European places, getting to a Champions League final?
I mean, you look at those stats there on the graphic. They're almost hard to believe. Only 2 wins from 16. The thing is, they have I know it doesn't count, but they have the best stadium in the country. They have the best training ground in the country. But it's been like a steady decline since Poch has left. And it feels like they need to start building again. I think they've obviously tried with Mourinho and Conte and try and bring in managers that win. But I think their wage bill compared to the top 4 teams is completely different. So they're way behind. So they're investing in the facilities.
But the revenue's high.
Exactly. But they don't have any world-class players anymore. Their 2 best players, the best player is Van der Ven. And you think about how great Tottenham, they've had some brilliant players over the years, but the centre-backs have rarely ever been their best players. You've got Bales and Modric and Harry Kane and Son. And they've got a lot of good players, talented young players, which are developing for the future. You know, you think about Tell and Simons and Bergvall, there's loads of them, but actually they need somebody ready. You look at Cunha and Mbeumo, what the job they've done for Man United. I think Tottenham need to invest in something that's going to take them from being a good team to become one of the top teams, like Chelsea do, like Arsenal do, like City do, like Liverpool do. And I think that's probably why the fans are frustrated, because they've spent quite a lot of money, but they're not investing on players. They're investing on young players, which is fine, but they don't help you in the short term. Does that make sense? And I do think they need to look at this summer. Recruitment is huge for them. They need, obviously, Kulusevski and Maddison will help when they come back, but they need, at the top of the pitch, I think they need difference makers like they've had in the past with Bale, Kane and Son. And right now, I think they're good players, but I don't think they're enough to compete for the European places.
And the run that they've got coming up, it is tough as well. They've got Newcastle and Arsenal in the next 2, Joe. They're going to be missing Christian Romero for those games, as well as Fulham and Palace as well, because he's going to be out for 4 games now. That is a tough run coming up as Thomas Frank tries to turn this around.
Yeah, it's not easy reading. It's definitely not. But the ironic thing is they've been, well, not comfortable, but they've done so well in the Champions League, you know, qualified in the top 8, one of the top 8 teams in the whole of Europe. When it comes to this Premier League, they just can't seem to put a run of fixtures together. And none of those sides will be fearing playing Tottenham this year. Not one of them. And that's a real problem.
Not even at home as well, because it's just 4 of 26 in the Premier League at home that they've won. That
just doesn't help with the whole feeling, you know, around that Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, around as a football team. You should go home. And Man United have experienced prior to today. Look, everyone's enjoying today, aren't they? Because it's a good performance and Michael Carrick's home. But Old Trafford could be very similar. And Tottenham are in that at the moment. If you're not playing well, if you're not having that belief, when you're there and you're masses, you know, you're with this 60,000, 55, 58 of them are Tottenham fans. And when it doesn't go well, the grumble just gets even louder and louder. You have to create that atmosphere at home.
And, you know, after the City game, Christian Romero put out on social media a tweet saying how, you know, the board are effectively letting down the team. There was only 11 available players, which he said was disgraceful. But today, has he let his teammates down, Owen, do you think?
I think when he looks at it back, you think, why did I do that? You know, there was no need. Obviously, he tries to dribble and create something. Once you lose, you just leave it. Also, obviously, Casemiro gets in there. But this is how he plays. You know, he's all action. He wears his heart on his sleeve. But there's no need for him to tackle like that, Lynn. You know, and he's club captain. I mean, you got to lead by example. That's not the example he needs to be set. And he's just late and he's high. And it's a guarantee it's a red. And up to that point, then, they were level, Joe, weren't they?
It was such a good game, and it was such a tenacious game. We were watching it, and you felt like there was going to be a scrappy moment here and there. But everyone was playing by the rules, if you like. You know, everyone was accepting what was going on. And the moment he did it, both of us just went, what have you done there? And it's just, you can't afford to have those moments. There's so many of those moments in the Tottenham season that always seem to happen. And it just puts them on the back foot. And like we say, for the first half an hour, it was a really good game. And then from that moment, it was done. And then it's, you know, damage limitation.
And it's not the first time. He's the first player in the Premier League to be sent off twice this season. Do you think he's a good leader?
Good leader? I don't know. He must be, from what we don't see, because Thomas Frank seems to stand by him no matter what, even when he was interviewed before the game, having put that statement out. He's my captain, he's my leader.
But is that because of a lack of other alternatives, do you think, in that dressing room? Are they just lacking leaders in general?
I'm not in that dressing room, but look, it's Tottenham. It's not just a random Sunday League team where they've just got to pick someone who's the best player. You know, this is established, full international players, people who've won things, you know, European champions from last year. So he's got people he can pick from, and he seems to think Christian Romero is the main man for it. So what that says about the Tottenham squad, I don't know.
Should he stay captain, though?
Look, that's just horrible conversation. Like I say, with Tottenham at the moment, Thomas Frank is having to talk about everything that he doesn't want to talk about. Even that conversation with Jules there, she's within her rights to ask, are you in a relegation battle?
Yeah.
It's just, it's the headaches you don't need as a manager. And he's got them constantly. Of course he's going to have to think about it. You know, he's missing him for 4 games. He's gone against the club in what he's said. That's, you know, he's killed his team today in the first half an hour, just going that little bit too far in how he plays. It's a thought process. He's going to, like I say, all the things that he doesn't want to be thinking about, he's having to do.
Because he's missed 3 games already through suspension, so it's going to end up being 7. He's linked with a move away as well. Do you think he can remain captain, Owen?
Well, he won't. Then obviously the next 4 games, and Mickey van der Ven, you know, I think he took the armband when he came back in, and I think he'll be a brilliant captain. And I think if you want to keep Mickey van der Ven beyond this season, because I think he could play for Real Madrid or Barcelona or any of the best teams in the world, I think maybe that's a clever way of keeping him at the football club by making him club captain. But Joe makes a good point. Thomas Frank's got to keep putting out fires left, right, and centre, and they've got so many issues to them. They've got to find a way to stop shooting themselves.
And it was a 1-0 for a long time against the 10-man Barber, so there was a little bit of relief when he made it too.
Yeah, it was, but I don't think anybody was doubting that United is going to win this game. But still, though, it was a good, necessary second goal, which in my mind, the cross was going, it was for Sesko.
Yes.
For Sesko, but he didn't get the touch with the ball. And then it's anticipating from Bruno, trying to see where the ball is going to land. It's a good connection, not with the foot, but with the shin pad.
Yeah.
Well, if we saw correctly, but it doesn't matter because the ball ended up in the back of the net. And, you know, that's second goal that we all needed.
That just shows you have to get something on it with like solid on it. When you're that close to the goal, you can score. But like, what I love about that is the fact that Sesko was making the run for the cross. That's the thing, is that they're trying to find Sesko in there, and that was it. Bruno just mopped up there, but like, it was a good cross in there. Sesko's unlucky.
Yeah, 104th goal for Manchester United. He's picked up the Man of the Match award there. You feel he was closely pushed by Kobbie Mainoo, who consistently... I mean, let's just point something out to everybody. Under Ruben Amorim, all season, 228 Premier League minutes. And he's come in now and played not only every minute, but how difficult is that when you've hard...
This is exactly where Hargreaves and Joe Hart absolutely nailed it. First off, the biggest point they made was about control and common sense. What we're seeing right now isn't tactical genius or some revolutionary system. It's players being put back into natural roles, and suddenly everything looks calmer, sharper, and more confident. Hargreaves was spot on when he said a month ago this midfield was being called a weakness. Now it looks like a strength. That doesn't happen by accident. Joe Hart's point about understanding players is massive. This isn't about shouting, overcoaching, or reinventing football. It's about trust, giving players belief, freedom, and responsibility. And you can see that in the way the team plays. They look comfortable. They look like they know their jobs. And that matters more than any fancy tactics board. The Kobbie Mainoo discussion was brutal, but honest. Both of them basically said what a lot of fans were thinking. This lad had elite-level quality all along. The scanning, the composure, the decision-making, that doesn't just appear overnight. Hargreaves calling it embarrassing that he wasn't trusted earlier says everything about how clear this talent already was. Joe Hart also made a really important point about momentum. No Europe, no distractions, just training, recovery, and rhythm. That's a massive advantage right now, especially when other teams are juggling competitions and injuries. United look fresh, focused, mentally sharp. And finally, the leadership angle. Hargreaves was right. This feels calm, grounded, and sustainable. No hype, no panic, just steady improvement. 4 wins don't fix everything, but they build belief. And belief is the hardest thing to coach. Bo.
T-Tom line, this isn't a miracle run. It's what happens when players are trusted, roles are clear, and confidence is restored. And that's why this run feels different.